A world with an S-class difficulty rating is given to the healing goddess Rista. To rise to the status of a great goddess, she must stop the Demon King from destroying this world, but because it will be extremely difficult, she is devastated. She immediately begins looking for the best human who can aid in defeating the Demon King, but even after considering a number of candidates, Rista is unable to find a single person with sufficient stats. She throws the papers because she is angry, and one of them lands on her face. When Rista first glances at the applicant's stats, she is astounded by how impressive they are for a level 1 hero. As soon as she completes the summoning ritual and calls out the human named Saya, Saya appears a short while later. Rista admires him while blushing at his good looks. She desperately wants to kiss him, but she quickly realizes that it is against God's laws for people to fall in love. She tells Saya why he has been called after regaining her composure. Rista is questioned by Saya in a dubious manner as to why, despite being a god, she is not rescuing the world herself. In a composed voice, Rista explains that humans are responsible for saving the world because gods created it for them. Rista tells Saya to accompany her to the world they must save so she can explain everything to him because there are still many things she needs to explain, but to her surprise, Saya declines. He will not go anywhere suspicious, even if the goddess herself is calling for him to come. Since Rista is the goddess of healing, she tries her best to assure Saya that he need not be concerned about dying because his stats are much higher than those of average heroes. But once more, Saya rejects her offer because he doesn't feel he can trust a goddess who will only play a minor role. He even questions whether Rista would be able to treat his minor wounds. Rista is enraged and cannot comprehend how a human could address a goddess in such an offensive manner. If Saya wants him to visit another world, she has a requirement. Rista interprets Saya's condition as forbidden love as he removes his t-shirt, and she blushes just thinking about it. However, to her surprise, Saya immediately begins performing push-ups. Saya needs some time to level up before he enters any dangerous areas. Rista once more examines Saya's candidate sheet after noticing something peculiar about his personality. She learns from it that Saya's personality indicates that he is improbable. Cautious. She tries until Saya levels up because there is nothing else she can do. By bringing him some rice balls to eat, Rista was assisting him, but Saya thought they might contain poison, so he told her to eat them first and then look for him. Rista sobs and tells Saya that she has no reason to poison him, but she still eats it to show him. In order to make sure he has everything he needs, Rista gives Saya some essentials as well as a buzzer that, when pressed, will let her know he is prepared to leave. Rista patiently waits, expecting him to press the buzzer in 2 to 3 days, but even after 7 days, nothing happens. When Rista begins to lose herself, the buzzer finally rings. She enters his room right away, and when she sees Saya's mangled body, her nose begins to bleed. Rista is shocked to see that Saya's level has increased to level 15 just from performing push-ups after wiping off the blood. She quickly opens the portal to retrieve Branda without further delay. This time, Saya is prepared as he perfectly says his catchphrase, "prepared." They travel to the closest town after arriving to purchase some weapons. Saya receives gold coins from Rista in exchange for the tools and other items. Saya walks into the armory, chooses steel, and orders 3 sets. Rista stops him from telling him right away. This many is not what he needs. The first is for wearing, the second is for a spare, and the third is Saya explains, in case the first backup fails. When they go to buy herbs this time, Saya ends up purchasing 50 of them. Rista takes the coins back and chooses the armor herself. After buying Reckless, they head to a field to raise Saya's level and develop her skills even more. There they discovered a slime that was weakest on them. Rista reports he doesn't have to worry about getting hurt. Saya uses atomic split slash while disregarding what she said. Saya mercilessly vaporizes the helpless slime with the potential to become a demon lord with just one blow. Rista makes an effort to convince Saya that he shouldn't use such a potent attack against the slime, but he continues to disregard her advice and uses another skill, Hell's Fire, because he believes the slime might still be alive. He uses the ability repeatedly until not even a single molecule is left. Rista finally suggests going to the next town to battle tougher monsters after Saya has finished with it. But just then, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Force Chaos Machina of the Demon Lord appears. Rista is shocked because she didn't anticipate meeting a powerful demon so soon. Inspecting Chaos's statistics, she discovers that she is level 66. Saya has no chance of beating her, so she orders him to flee right away. However, she soon discovers that Saya has already left. She chases after him in rage, asking how he could abandon such a stunning goddess. As soon as she is about to be captured by Chaos, Rista quickly opens the portal, but Saya uses Hell's Fire to stop her. When they get there, Saya grabs Rista by the face. Rista begins to blush as she anticipates their forbidden love, but Saya simply discards her. She is instructed to leave because he needs more time to level up, he says. Saya is still in training 2 days later, so Rista consults the crystal ball to assess the situation in Idona. There, she observes that Chaos has already claimed the lives of numerous people and warns the hero and goddess to arrive right away or else more lives will be lost. Rista is concerned, so she goes to tell Saya about the situation, but no matter what she says, Saya still needs more time to level up, so they still need to move quickly even though time moves 100 times more slowly in the Divine Realm. Saya tells Rista to leave him alone because he is unwilling to listen. When Rista witnesses the deaths of people, she becomes upset and tells Saya that her decision to make him the hero was the worst decision of her life. Saya, who is wearing his armor, tells Rista as she prepares to leave the room that it's not that he doesn't care about those people, rather, it's just that if he dies, then every human in Gabranda will also perish. He prefers to use logic over feeling. When Rista checks his statistics, he is astounded by how quickly he has leveled up. Both of them teleport to Gabranda as soon as Saya says his catchphrase, ready to perfection. Saya arrives just in time and uses his new skill Windblade to save the human just before Chaos kills another person. When Chaos looks at Saya's stats, she is astounded to see how much she has leveled since their last encounter, but Saya isn't afraid because she has a skill up her sleeve. Chaos changes into her true self, and as a result, she has 3 times Saya's stature. As of her current stats, Chaos is stronger than the Demon King of a D-class world, which causes Rista to freak out when she sees how powerful she is. With unbelievable strength, Chaos attacks Saya. Since Rista has come to terms with Saya's passing, she closes her eyes. Saya is still standing unharmed as the dust clears. Rista is in awe and cannot comprehend how a level 21 hero can defeat a demon with significantly superior stats. Saya is using a fake skill to conceal his real stats, she discovers when she checks his statistics once more. She uses her divine abilities to see through the fake skill, and when Rista learns his true statistics, her jaw just drops. When she notices that Saya's stats are 10 times higher than before, she initially wonders how he was able to level up so quickly. However, she soon realizes that Saya had been hiding his true stats from her all along, so when they first encountered Chaos, Saya's stats were more than sufficient to defeat her. Saya easily reduces Chaos to ashes using Phoenix Drive and his true power. Everyone in the town is ecstatic and expresses gratitude to Saya for his valiant deed. Saya begins gathering Chaos's ashes and employing his maximum Inferno skill on them while ignoring the praise. The town as a whole is burned because the power is so strong. Saya is asked to leave the town by the mayor of the village because he cannot afford any more harm. Saya stops Rista as they are about to leave for the next town. He thinks there is a good chance he will soon have to face another one of the 4 heavenly kings, so he wants to level up more before that happens. Rista opens the portal to the divine realm out of necessity, and they travel there. Rista is with Arya, one of the great goddesses, while Saya is exercising. Rista praises her for having saved 300 worlds, but Arya admits that despite it being only a level B world, there was one that she was unable to save. Arya drops her cup as soon as she sees Saya enter the room at that precise moment. She went over to him and greeted him. Rista begins to feel envious when she observes that Arya is also mesmerized by Saya's attractive face. Arya inquired of Saya why he had come to this location. Saya is having trouble raising his level. No matter how hard he trains, he barely advances in level. When Rista learns of this, he is ecstatic and suggests that they travel to Gabranda to battle monsters, but Saya thinks that would be a risky course of action. Requests a different suggestion. Saya should train with Cerseus, the god of the divine blade, Arya advises. Arya thinks Saya would greatly improve with his amazing sword skills. The idea appeals to Saya. They visit Cerseus to inquire about the instruction. Cerseus agrees to train but tells Saya in advance that training will not be at all simple for a human. In response, Cerseus receives a warning from Saya not to abandon the training in the middle of making him cry. When Cerseus hears it from a human, he is offended. He decides to show Saya their level difference out of rage, and the training process then starts. Rista visits Cerseus after the first day to get an update. Saya has potential, but Cerseus acknowledges that his strength is still far behind. After the second day, Cerseus claims that Saya has grown quite powerful, but that Saya is no match for him if he uses his real power. When Rista returns to Cerseus after the third day, she finds him sitting in a corner and inquires about the training. Cerseus, who appears exhausted, remarks on the remarkable progress and assures everyone that nothing to be concerned about. After the fourth day, Rista wants to make rice balls and is searching for a component called nori when she unexpectedly discovers Cerseus hiding there. Cerseus begs with a spooky expression. Rista must maintain a low voice so that Saya won't find him. Saya is already 3 times stronger than him, but he reveals that he won't let up until he is 100 times stronger, so they have been working out non-stop with no breaks. He begs her to save him from the psychopath, but Saya arrives just then and discovers Cerseus. Cerseus is so traumatized that he vows to stop sword fighting and throws his divine blade into the water, but despite this, he claims it drags him to the training. Ishtar, who is the highest-ranked goddess, summons Rista. In the next town, Rista and Saya will find 2 allies who will aid them in the journey, according to Ishtar's precognition, but because a terrible calamity is upon the town, she orders Rista to leave right away. Rista meets with Saya and describes the circumstance. Saya has reached a sufficient level and pronounces his catchphrase flawlessly. When they get to Simmel, they see that people are leaving. She inquires as to the cause, and one of them replies that the large horde of undead have destroyed the main castle and are now moving toward this town because it is close to the castle. When Saya asks Rista what the undead's weaknesses are, she replies that they are fire and holy water. Saya then orders 1,000 bottles of holy water from the nearby store. Rista then interrupted him, as Saya is required to purchase only 10 of them. When they get to the church, Mash and Elialu, 2 dragon descendants who will now be Saya's companions, are introduced to them. Saya applies the holy water to the priest before he can continue. Rista is shocked and incensed at Saya's rudeness, but as the priest quickly begins to turn undead, Saya intervenes without further delay, cuts him into pieces quickly. Rista is unsure of Saya's current level of power because he was so quick. As anticipated, Saya uses all of his inferno to destroy the body, but in the process, he also completely destroys the church. When Mash and Elialu first meet Saya, they are impressed by her strength. However, to their surprise, Saya uses holy water on them at Rista. Saya tells Rista he doesn't need them because with their current stats, they will only slow him down after looking over their statistics with a disgusted expression. The knights hear the explosion just as they arrive. They inform the hero and goddess that a horde of 10,000 undead are heading toward this town. They ask the hero for assistance because they know that even with an army of 300 they cannot defeat the horde. Saya inquires about the reward, unaware that it will be 1,000 gold coins. Saya nods in agreement and gives him a piece of paper to record it on as evidence. With it, Saya is equipped to take on the horde alone. The knights are shocked to learn of it, and they ask him to wait because more knights will soon join him, but they claim he doesn't need anyone to slow him down. So, after instructing the knights, Mash, and Elialu to defend the town using their flight abilities, he flew toward the horde, leaving Rista behind. Rista is inconsolable and summons her wings using her godly abilities to pursue Saya, but the latter is moving too quickly for her to catch up. CR comes back and holds her hand after realizing she can't keep up. Rista begins to flush, believing Saya has finally developed feelings for her. Taking advantage of the opportunity, she attempts to kiss him, but Saya rushes away, leaving Rista in tatters. When they arrive at the destination, Saya employs his brand new talent, Meteor Strike. He vaporizes the 10,000 undead with just one strike. Rista is astounded by Saya's increased power. Just to make sure the horde is permanently exterminated, Saya uses Meteor Strike once more. He shook his head after casting his second spell because so much of his MP had been consumed. Rista is concerned for Saya after seeing how potent the spell was, so she inquires about the remaining magic power. Saya responds, of the 15,000, only 13,500 are left, while holding his head. After hearing this, Rista can't stop talking. Elialu enters at this point, worried, and says that she hasn't seen Mash since the church incident. They have now arrived in the town. Elialu and Rista visit Saya's room to ask for assistance. Seiya demonstrates to Rista a platinum sword he made using his new talent, Synthesize. Rista is astounded by it and inquires as to how he did it. Seiya explains that he was able to accomplish this feat by fusing 2 common swords with Rista's hair. Just then, a package arrives, and Seiya instructs Rista to open it because she thinks it might be a bomb. They discover a mirror inside the package, but it's not just any mirror. Mash is restrained inside the mirror while being tortured. The second Heavenly King Death Magia then makes an appearance. He is going to torture Mash to death in retaliation for Seiya killing his undead, which he considered to be his children. And by using this mirror, he will express the suffering he endured. Seiya instructs Rista to launch a portal to the Divine Realm and use it to search for Death Magia because it would take a long time to find it. Death Magia's hand was cut by his dimension blade. Since time moves 100 times more slowly in Ishtar obviously declines because it's against the rules, but she shares the location anyway. The Divine Realm Seiya takes advantage of this opportunity to go to her and ask her to teleport him to the location where the Death Magia is. Location of Mash. Rista enters the castle right away after opening the portal. As soon as they get there, Seiya easily defeats Death Magia thanks to his leveled up stats and saves Mash. When Mash recovers from his injury, Elialu is overjoyed. When Seiya enters the space, he informs Mash and Elialu is delighted that they can accompany him, but asks them to carry his belongings in exchange. Upon, Mash and Elialu recall a legendary weapon and say that according to legend, a hero will visit the dragon's den with 2 of their offspring and receive the most potent weapon there to defeat the demon lord. Seiya likes the idea, but first he goes to the Divine Realm to level up. While there, he searches for Cerseus and discovers him in the cafeteria, cooking. When Cerseus sees Seiya coming his way, he runs away, but when he realizes it's Mash and that he needs to train him, Cerseus eagerly goes to the gym. After Mash, Rista gives Elialu to the fire goddess Hastiaka and asks her to teach the young girl flame magic. Following Elialu, Seiya seeks out a training partner. On the way, Rista unintentionally runs into Valkyrie, the goddess of destruction. When Valkyrie becomes enraged, she orders Rista to watch her steps in a furious tone. Seiya queries Rista about Valkyrie after she departs because she sends powerful energy. Rista admits that Valkyrie is the strongest god in terms of raw power, but warns Seiya not to speak to her because Valkyrie is irritable and doesn't like humans conversing with deities. But to her surprise, Seiya had already left, calling Valkyrie an exhibitionist as he asked her to train him. Arya arrives just as Valkyrie is about to kill Seiya because she is furious. As Valkyrie yields to her pressure and walks away, Arya informs Seiya that she has warned him repeatedly to refrain from acting so recklessly. Seiya finds it strange and queries Arya about whether she converses casually with anyone other than him. Knowing that Seiya needs a partner to train with, Arya apologizes and introduces him to the goddess of war Adenala. Given that she is significantly stronger than Cerseus, Arya assures Seiya that he will significantly advance. Adenala says in a creepy voice how happy she is to be able to assist a person. They all put in a lot of effort for 2 days to raise their game. It's time for them to leave for Gabranda on the 3rd day. After being amazed by the progress while picking up Mash, Rista then goes to pick up Elialu. Hestiaka advises Rista to give up on flame magic because there has been absolutely no progress and she has no talent for it. Elialu is very upset about not being able to use flame magic despite being a dragon ancestor. Rista offers her words of encouragement before departing to pick up Seiya. There, Adenala approaches Seiya while sporting a completely different appearance, and she gives him a bear hug. She presents him with a cake that she baked and tells Seiya that she wants to travel with him and spend the rest of her life with him. In disbelief, Rista questions what these two were really doing in the name of training. Seiya categorically declines the cake and informs Adenala that there is no way he will spend the rest of his life with her. Adenala erupts into a rage as they are about to leave and begins destroying everything, but Seiya ignores her. They enter the portal after he perfectly says his catchphrase. They entered the dragon's den in Gabranda after arriving there, where a voice instructed them to enter the magic circle to be transported to the dragon village. Then the hero will be given the strongest Exation weapon. Being wary, Seiya first places a lizard on the magic circle. The lizard teleports to the dragon village after the voice has confirmed his teleportation with everyone. Legos, who directs them to their leader, the great mother of dragons Levi, is what they need there. Mash is first transformed into a dragonite by Levi to reveal his true abilities, and he tells him that with enough practice, he has the potential to become a dragon god. Elialu, who is enthralled by Mash's transformation, asks how she can also transform. Levi explains that Elialu can't change because she must sacrifice her life to become Exation in order to fulfill a more significant role. Everyone who hears this is shocked. Unfortunately, this is the only way to obtain the exasion that will enable the hero to defeat the Demon King. Rista asks if there is another option. Levi advises them to suppress their emotions for the sake of this world, because if they don't, the remaining nations will be wiped out with the Demon King controlling 70% of it. Sad Elielu consents to being the sacrifice and accepts her fate. Everyone is outside contemplating what could be done, as there is still some time before the ceremony starts. Rista asks Seiya to take action, but Seiya responds in a stern manner that what must be done is obvious. Elielu becomes upset when she hears the reply because she had hoped the hero would take action, but if that's her fate, she agrees. The dragons arrange a feast for all the participants right before the ritual. 2 dragon children offer cookies to the group of heroes. After Rista informs him that they are only children, Seiya decides to accept them rather than reject them. Levi makes the ritual startup announcement after a while. Elielu travels the fabled path laid out by the first Dragon Emperor while being accompanied by 2 guards. According to the legend, once Elielu reaches the destination, she will jump off of it and soon change into an exasion. Seiya, however, appears from behind and kicks the guards before Elielu even reaches the end. Seiya realizes after giving it some serious thought that if Elielu turns into a sword, then there will be one less person to carry his bag. Levi is shocked and demands to know the reason for such an intrusion. Seiya is suspicious that the weapon could even kill the Demon Lord given the lack of exasion communication. Levi poisoned the cookies for them because she knew that Rista and Mash might become paralyzed suddenly. But when Levi notices Seiya unaffected, he is shocked. When she noticed him devouring the cookies, she queries how this is possible. Seiya pretended to eat the cookies, but soon puked because he thought they might be poisoned. Levi has had enough. Enraged, she transforms into a dragon god with insanely high stats, especially in defense. But to her surprise, Seiya was already ready. He pulls out the dragon killer sword that he made by fusing Mash's and Rista's hair with a platinum sword. Levi is unconcerned to observe it. Elilu's necklace has a curse on it that she activates, setting a 3-minute timer. And Elielu will pass away. Worried, Rista inquires about the sacrifice. Levi explains that Elielu's blood and flesh are all that are required for the ritual, whether Elielu is dead or alive. Since killing Levi is the only way to break the curse, Seiya uses Phoenix Drive to deal heavy damage to her right away. However, Levi manages to unlock the wall in due time, making her defense virtually impenetrable. Seiya pulls out a second dragon killer, combining it with his Adenalatot skill, the Eternal Sword. Levi's HP is hardly affected by them, but despite this, Levi is certain that this Elielu will pass away and turn into an exasion. To her surprise, Seiya's plan was to push her over the cliff rather than attempt to breach her wall. Levi disassembles the wall as Seiya's plan becomes clear to her, but as soon as she does, Seiya uses a double wind blade to cut off Levi's wings and propel her through the cliff. Then Levi soon becomes an exasion. Because Levi already met the requirements for a female dragon's flesh and blood. Seiya tells the villagers that since he saved Elielu and they finished the ritual, it is a win-win situation for both of us. Although the passing of their leader has left the villagers somewhat shocked, they all agree that it was for the best. Mash reunites with Elielu and gives her a hug. After teleporting, Rista informs Seiya that she is certain the sword is not exasion due to the absence of sacred energy in it. Seiya informs her that it was the best way to get away from that place. Rista expressed her relief that Elielu was spared, but she questioned Seiya about his strategy for taking down the Demon King without exasion. Seiya doesn't know that, but he is confident that he will discover something along the way. Rista is taken aback to hear such a response from someone as cautious as Seiya. The previous knights are present in front of the entrance as they prepare to leave the cave. They are Imperial Rose Guard knights, and their captain Rosalie is engaged in a battle with demons. They have come to ask the hero for assistance. Elielu and Rista Mash accompany Seiya as they travel to the scene of the captain's conflict. There, the demon Beelzebub, who moves with incredible speed, is seen charging. Seiya observes the captain's lack of restraint as she charges the troops without a plan in place, slaughtering them as a result. They approach the captain after spending some more time observing. Carlos suggests that Rosalie should first retreat and allow the soldiers some time to rest before ordering her guards to attack the demons and exact revenge for the deaths of her soldiers. Rosalie concurs that everyone will congregate in the fortress for the meeting. Rosalie asserts with assurance that the hero and she would suffice without the need for any strategy. Seiya gets to his feet and declares that he is heading to the Divine Realm to begin his training. Everyone is shocked, and Rosalie is enraged and ready to attack at any moment. Seiya calms her down by telling her that he cannot depend on someone with her lack of patience. Rosalie is horrified to learn that the hero was present when her soldiers were being killed. She accuses him of being responsible for their deaths and is incensed. She questions how a hero could witness people being killed and do nothing to save them. Seiya says outright that she killed her soldiers. It wasn't her lack of planning, she was the one who did it. Rosalie is furious and tries to slap Seiya because she is not prepared to accept such an accusation. Seiya, however, blocks it and repeatedly slaps her back until she stops. Rosalie sobs and tells Seiya that she will take care of the demon on her own while having swollen cheeks. She is ignored by Seiya, who returns to the divine realm. Seiya meets Midas, the goddess of archery, there. Seiya is impressed by her ability to shoot 7 arrows in a row and asks her to train him. Midas concurs, but advises Seiya to temper his expectations before they begin the training because a human can only shoot 3 arrows in a row. Seiya responds in an assured manner, saying he'll look into it. Rista takes Mash and Elielu to Arya while Seiya is occupied with Midas so that she can train them and raise their level. After dropping them off, Circeus enters worried and informs Rista that Adenala has become irrational since they left. To calm Adenala down, Rista rushes over to her house, but when she arrives, she discovers that the entire wall has been painted with the word kill. Adenala is waiting to kill Seiya as Rista turns, but she tells a lie about leaving Seiya in Gabranda. Thankfully, Adenala buys it. Seiya is perplexed because Adenala is standing directly behind her as Rista quickly approaches him to warn him to avoid her. Adenala chuckles. She followed Rista because she knew there was no way she would return without Seiya. Adenala assumes a fighting stance after recalling her humiliation, but to her surprise, Seiya approaches and instructs her to comb her hair because it is untidy. Seiya is urged to run by a terrified Rista. Adenala, who was just a moment ago furious, now forgives Seiya. Rista is shocked to see how simple it was to calm the goddess of war. Rista visits Arya a few days later to see how Mash and Elielu are doing. Mash can partially release his dragon seal, and Elielu has discovered that she can use support magic to use delay and haste on the situation. After meeting Seiya there, they teleport to the fortress after he says his signature phrase. Seiya immediately follows Rosalie to where she is fighting Beelzebub after learning that she has gone there. When they arrive, they observe Rosalie ascending the tree. She being in that situation allows Seiya to use Rosalie as bait, which he appreciates. Beelzebub, on the other hand, is informed and drags Rosalie along. To make sure she doesn't lose sight of Rosalie, Seiya sends Rista. Beelzebub realizes the hero is also nearby after spotting a goddess in this area. He soars even higher in order to gain the upper hand. Nevertheless, a bright arrow moves in his direction. Rosalie is dropped by Beelzebub as he tries to avoid it, but fortunately Rista is able to catch her. Beelzebub is in shock to see that the hero can shoot from this high a distance. Soon Beelzebub is hit by 7 more brilliant arrows. Rista is in awe of the human who exceeds the boundaries set by the gods. However, Beelzebub is able to avoid all of them. He then seeks out Seiya to kill him after that. However, to his surprise, the arrows Seiya had previously fired have changed into birds. The arrows reload extremely quickly and kill Beelzebub. Elielu's haste helps Seiya finish off the smaller flies, and she then directs Mash to gather the bodies. Seiya burns the remains after collecting them with Hell's fire. Rosalie tells Seiya about the legendary armor that is waiting for the hero in the village of Isael so that, with its aid, he can vanquish the demon lord before she departs. Seiya realizes this and goes to the village with others. However, they are shocked to see the situation when they arrive. As they move deeper inside, they encounter Kiklapul, one of the 4 heavenly kings, who is lighting up the entire village in fire. A demon named Adamantus that Kiklapul called from another world is standing next to him. And by using it, he destroyed the legendary armor. Consequently, Seiya's chances of defeating the demon king are slim. Kiklapul sacrifices himself and calls forth a hyperconceptual Reaper Crosthanatus because he is aware that he lacks the strength to defeat the protagonist. Seiya orders Rista to open the portal immediately because he is unprepared for what is about to happen. Crosthanatus is summoned shortly after the summoning is finished. Thanatus's stats are actually out of control, so Rista freaks out when she sees that the statistics are glitching. Seiya attacks the Reaper with a double wind blade, but the Reaper splits it in half. Seiya is in a panic and orders Rista to open the portal as soon as possible while using Maximum Inferno. The Reaper begins to break through the dimensions and enters the divine realm as soon as Rista opens the portal, taking them to that realm. Rista finds it impossible to believe that this is even conceivable. Seiya has no choice but to concede and has no idea how to respond. Gods come to the rescue to stop the intruder, but the Reaper easily overcomes them. Rista and the others begin running after spotting Seiya already running. Adonala is in front, so Seiya asks her for assistance because she is a goddess of war. Rista because more gods arrive to assist, but they are no match. The Reaper can be defeated by Adonala. Adonala uses the most powerful eternal sword, but Adonala ultimately loses when the Reaper splits into numerous clones. Seiya's final resort is Valkyrie because nearly all of the gods have been vanquished. He draws the Reaper to her and forces him to attack the painting of the Valkyrie. Angered, Valkyrie attacks the Reaper, but his insane regeneration makes her attacks ineffective. As soon as Ishtar releases her limit, Valkyrie breaks into a fit of laughter and her stats are incredible. The Reaper is caught inside the gate and swallowed when she uses her ultimate ability, Valhalla Gate. But because the Valhalla Gate requires the caster's life force in exchange for its use, using it causes Valkyrie to lose a lot of blood as a side effect. The side effect, however, doesn't bother Valkyrie because she is immortal and instead tickles her. Seiya asks Valkyrie to teach him this skill, but she declines because a human couldn't possibly master it due to its negative side effects. Seiya continues to insist, and when Valkyrie finally gives in, she instructs him to report to her room in 10 minutes. Mash and Eliela visit Arya to boost their stats after Seiya's training partner is chosen. In the meantime, Ishtar summons Rista, telling her that the hero and she must move quickly because the last Heavenly King is getting ready to attack Gabranda. Mash and Elielu, who have significantly improved, are brought first by Rista, after which she goes to the Valkyrie's residence to bring Seiya. She is shocked, however, to see Valkyrie sob while Seiya Rista is on top of her. She is reassured by Seiya that it is not what she believes. He was required to complete it as a requirement for passing the training. Since Seiya needs a lot of her hair for synthesis, and this would help him, Rista goes insane and displays a doll she made out of her hair, which disgusts everyone. They travel to Gabranda after Seiya learns about the Valhalla Gate. When they arrive, they find a sizable horde of demons in front of the castle. Eraser, the final Heavenly King, commands the strongest warrior to advance. When the king responds to the call, Eraser and other demons laugh because they think the man is just a frail old man, but to his surprise, the king slashes the man into pieces right away. And then he vaporizes every last demon using his talent Massive Saint's Light. Rista questioned the king about why he doesn't take on the demon lord himself given how strong he is. Before he can respond, the king transforms into a baby. Rosalie shows up shortly after and says that her father is forced to alternate between being an infant and an old man due to a demon lord's curse. While the hero party shops, Rosalie transports the king to the castle. The king summons Seiya in the evening, but Rosalie asks him to refuse her father's request to join him in fighting the demon lord because he has a limited amount of time left to live and she wants him to spend his final days in peace.
I just want this time to be peaceful.
Seiya concurs because the king, despite his strength, doesn't want someone on his team who might pass away at any moment. Seiya arrives to see the king, but just then a guard informs him that the capital is being attacked by the Demon Lord's army's survivors.
Survivors from the Demon Lord's army are attacking the capital!
The king tries to leave, but Seiya prevents him and says he will go and destroy them. The king agrees and orders Seiya to leave with Mash, Elielu, and Rista remaining behind because she is useless. Later, during their private conversation, the king asks Rista if she is aware of the reason why gods and heroes can return to their original world even after passing away in this one. Rista queries the king because she is unaware of it. The king explains that a god has two souls, the virtual soul, which he or she travels with, and the real soul, which is kept safe in the divine realm. The hero also has a virtual soul, but his real soul resides in his world, so even if he passes away here, he will return to it. The king then describes a magical item called Chain Destruction, which, if used, will destroy both the hero's and goddess's real and virtual souls for all time. Knowing that such a magical object could exist terrifies Rista. The king then reveals that it is in the Demon Lord's possession and that he has already created the God Eater weapon out of it. The king then displays the weapon by pulling it out. Rista is concerned and inquires as to why he has such a thing. The king then attacks Rista and Rista demands to know why he is doing this and traps her while she is restrained. The king explains that when he first faced the demon lord, he was astounded by the disparity in their powers and became so overcome that he vowed to worship the demon lord ever after. Seiya intervenes and saves Rista just in time for the king to kill her. He was sensible enough to realize that this might be a possibility. Rosalie is shocked to see her dad attempting to slay a goddess. The king uses the demon spirit orb, which allows him to regain the strength he had in his heyday. Seiya uses the ultimate eternal sword attack when they first start fighting, but the king quickly disposes of one of Seiya's swords by adapting with a special move. Seiya begins to take off all the bulky accessories he was wearing because he is out of options. Seiya had intended to get rid of them when he had to battle the demon lord, but given the king's strength, he is left with no choice. To her surprise, Elalu had already cast the spell when Rista asked him to use haste on Seiya despite the fact that Seiya's speed had been doubled. At this point, Rista realizes he didn't prepare his catchphrase before arriving. The king amputates Seiya's right arm, thinking he will win, and he begins to laugh. To his surprise, he also wonders how this is even possible. Seiya explains that he can exact the damage he has taken by employing the counter-break technique that he learned from Valkyrie. Seiya defeats the king by using Phoenix Thrash. Rista begins treating Seiya's arm right away. The king begins to cry after he returns to his earlier self. Rista is instructed by Seiya to also treat the king's wound. Rosalie is advised by Seiya to speak to her father one last time before the king passes away, but Rosalie declines because she won't forgive a traitor. Seiya slaps her and tells her that even though he is evil, he still loves her and that this is her last chance. Rosalie breaks down and gives her father one last, passionate hug. 3 days later, the public learns of the king's death, and Rosalie is crowned as the new monarch. Meanwhile, back in town, Seiya wakes up after a restless night. Seeing that the king was only marginally defeated, he resolves to train harder and level up more quickly. But before he does, Seiya instructs everyone to explore the town while he hunts for some herbs so they can have some fun later on in the evening. Everyone is pleased to see that a training freak is letting them have fun. The three of them travel to the town as planned. Because a mixed hot spring is nearby, Rista, who is nearby, is bleeding from the nose just at the thought of being able to show Seiya her melons. However, when she takes a closer look at the swimsuits, she bemoans how tacky they are. When the shopkeeper hears it, he becomes enraged. He begins making fun of Rista by suggesting that she wear a one-piece or even a topless bathing suit. But to her shock, Rista decides to buy them. They impress Rista so much that she even purchases a pair of underwear with a hole in it. The store owner is completely speechless. When they get back to the inn in the evening, they discover Seiya hasn't left. They head to the town in the hopes that he might still be looking for equipment, but despite searching for an hour, they are unable to locate him. As a last resort, worried Rista visits the Divine Realm to speak with Ishtar about Seiya. When she gets there, she notices Arya sobbing by the window. Arya leads them to a hidden location where all of God's souls are kept safe after wiping away her tears. Seiya has gone to battle the demon lord alone, Ishtar reveals there. Rista is shocked because he believes that a cautious person like Seiya would never do such a thing. However, Ishtar goes on to say that Seiya has always worked to keep his teammates safe, even when it meant going up against the king and possibly losing his life. Ishtar demonstrates that Seiya has already reached his highest stats since they first arrived at the Dragon Village. Due to Rista's incredibly fake skill making it impossible for him to see them, Seiya learned Valhalla Gate so he could face the Demon Lord alone because he had no other way to raise his stats. Rista is shocked because Seiya will unavoidably perish if a human uses the Valhalla Gate while chain destruction is present. They are shown a level B world Exphoria that was destroyed 100 years ago by Ishtar. Arya was given the world, and she enlisted Seiya as her hero to guard it. While traveling, they formed a group with Colt and Tiana, two Exphoria residents. Seiya, however, was an impatient hero who, in contrast to the present, didn't even strategize and instead relied solely on the strength of himself and his party. Fortunately, they were able to find the Demon Lord after barely defeating their foes. Tiana asked Seiya to first gather details about the Demon Lord the night before they planned to attack. However, Seiya, being an impatient hero, reassured her that everything would be alright. When Seiya was able to defeat the Demon Lord on the battle day, everyone began to rejoice, believing they had saved the world. However, to their shock, the Demon Lord had been reborn. He quickly ate his first meal. Cultus followed by Arya. Demon Lord had 2 lives, which allowed him to reincarnate. Tiana is pregnant with the hero's child, the Demon Lord discovered after he had Tiana under his control. Seiya cried and begged the Demon Lord to spare their lives, but he killed everyone without mercy. After realizing the truth and returning to the present, Rista is upset. Tiana was reincarnated as Rista after she passed away, according to Ishtar. Despite the fact that Seiya has no memories of them together, his regrets are ingrained in his soul, which is why he makes an effort to exercise caution in his present life. Rista dries her tears, and they work together. To assist Seiya, Elialo and Mash go with them. Seiya and the Demon Lord are already engaged in battle when they arrive at the castle. As she senses the presence of chain destruction, Rista gets chills. The Demon Lord transforms and tries to flee through the gate as Seiya summons the Valhalla gate and swallows him up. Seiya creates a sword out of the spike from the gate and uses it to attack the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord is finally fully ingested, but as a result, Seiya's body begins to lose a lot of blood. Rista requests of Ishtar, unleash all of her divine abilities. Ishtar warns Rista that if she asks to release her limit, it will be taken away from her because she has already broken the rule by traveling directly to the Demon Lord's castle. Rista accepts any punishment and is given all of her divine abilities. She uses it to successfully treat Seiya's injuries, but the Valhalla gate hasn't yet disappeared. When the Demon Lord uses Judgment Zero, it is broken. Rista is frightened by the Demon Lord's immense power, but Seiya opens another Valhalla gate before the Demon Lord unleashes his attack. The second gate, which is larger than the first, swallows the Demon Lord along with it. Seiya's body begins to break this time, but at a price. Despite Rista's best efforts, Seiya's body is breaking down more quickly than she can heal him. Seiya gives hugs to Rista just before completely disappearing because he knows his death is coming. He also thanks Mash and Elialo for their support. He remembers his previous life when he sees Tiana in the mirror and is happy to see that this time he was able to save her. The Demon Lord's demise has brought peace to the world. Elialo and Mash work for Rosalie. Rista bids them farewell and departs for the Divine Realm. When Rista begins to dream, she checks the space where Seiya used to train but finds him nowhere. Ishtar had called Rista, who is now in the room, to take Arya, when she entered. Arya takes Rista to Ishtar after combing her hair. Ishtar firstly thanks Rista for saving the Gabranda, but she also informs her that she will be punished for breaking the rule. And now, in order to maintain her goddess status, she must save an SS-class world Exphoria that is already under the control of the Demon Lord. Arya begs Ishtar, who is visibly moved, not to impose such a harsh punishment. The SS-class world is too challenging for even a great goddess, and because Rista is only a novice goddess, it is impossible for her to save it with a typical hero. Ishtar reveals that the chain destruction was also ingested after the second gate, the Demon Lord, and the first gate were all summoned. Ishtar presents a piece of paper with a potential hero on it. Rista breaks down in tears when she sees Seiya's name on it. Assuming that all of the stats have been reset to level 1, Ishtar allows Rista to call forth the hero, but this time, Rista overlooked Seiya's, beyond impossibly cautious, personality. Fellow weebs. If you enjoyed the recap, subscribe and turn on notifications for more hilarious videos. Also, if you would like to buy some cool anime keychains, go ahead and check my description below.